not paying answer. You know, I'm a volunteer.
Salam alaikum. Peace to all. We are gathered here today to speak against what's happening with the Rohingya and the Kachin minorities in Burma, specifically the Arakan region of Burma. The Rohingya were systematically removed from that region. Their villages burned almost exactly 1 year ago in August of 2017, when almost 700,000 of the Rohingya were driven out, a lot of them into the forest, we believe about 400 to 500,000 of them, and unfortunately we have no idea what's happened to those people. We do know about the 700,000 that were driven out into Bangladesh. The good thing is they are safe there, but the bad thing, it is not their land. They are in refugee camps and they are not living in conditions that any human should live in. They need to be sent back. They need to be given rights to go back to their own lands, to their own villages, to their own farms, and to their own businesses in the Arakan region of Myanmar, because that's where they belong, that's where their ancestry is, and that's where their citizenship should be. I am a volunteer for Justice for All, a Chicago-based organization, the main project of which is Burma Task Force. And we have been working on advocacy issues for the Rohingya since 2012. I'll have to probably speak a lot louder than I am at this point, but I hope that you can hear me. At this time, I'd like to call upon Imam Abdullah Dumba. He is the regional coordinator of Justice for All in the New England region. Imam Abdullah, if you can come and please do an official opening with a small prayer, inshallah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we shall get started. I'll begin by reciting some verses from the Book of God, Book of Allah, Al-Quran. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Ameen. O our Lord, our Creator Allah, we ask you that you bless us in this day. We ask you that you bless our brothers and sisters who are the reason for our gathering today. We ask you that you protect them as you always do. We ask you that you bring them back to their country with peace, dignity, security, and with citizenship. We ask you, God, that you help them enjoy the benefit of every human right that we are longing for and we are looking for. We ask you, God, to make us the voice for those people who cannot speak today. We ask you to give us the energy, and we ask you to reward every single person that works for peace and justice. We ask you to promote this cause, and we ask you to help our leaders in this nation to step up and do what they are required to do and influence the entire world so they can help the Rohingyas go back to their country with full citizenship. So we say thank you, Allah, for bringing us together, and we ask for your acceptance. Ameen, Ameen, Ameen.
Thank you, Imam Abdullah. At this time, I'd like to call upon Brother Matt Carrica. He's the chaplain at Brandeis University, and we are glad to have you, Brother Matt.
So thank you all for welcoming me to this space. I should say the reason I'm here today is because Abdullah called me this week and asked me to be here, and so I wouldn't feel bad that it's a small number of people here. I think I always remember that Margaret Mead quote, that never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world, because indeed it's the only thing that ever has. And that if Abdullah's call to me this week is any indication, that if we call our friends and neighbors, that they'll start to know about this too. Because my sense is that if people know about this, and what's going on, then they're going to change. You know, Martin Luther King said that one of the greatest sins isn't necessarily ignorance, but indifference. And so I think a lot of people are just so busy, they don't know what's going on in this situation with the Rohingya and the Kachin in Myanmar. But if we were to educate people, then they can know more about what's going on. Because my sense is, and that's actually, Abdallah and I have known each other for many years. We were part of an interfaith youth program that brought together youth from all different religions, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, and we worked together for peace and justice. And this is one of those things that no matter what your faith background, you can say this is an injustice, this ethnic cleansing, this genocide, if we call it what it is. And so our job is, as people of faith, is to work to end the injustice. And when you think about it, as people of faith, you can really go one of two ways. You can contract in on ourselves and be more internal in our communities, or we can reach out to the people we know and say, hey, this is happening and this is not right and this is how we need to change. And so to not let the small number here today be a source of discouragement, but really just to recognize that we live in such a busy world where there's almost this tragedy fatigue, where there's so much happening. And so the more we can reach out to our friends and our neighbors and our brothers and sisters and tell them what's happening, the more we can educate them, the sooner we can put political pressure on them, because it's not just up to our elected leaders, it's up to us. And the more we can raise up our friends and our neighbors, the more we can put pressure to end this genocide and this ethnic cleansing. So thank you for welcoming me here. Thank you for your hospitality. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Matt. Thank you very much. You're right. We have to work regardless of the faith traditions of these people who are being persecuted. Just so that everybody knows, the Rohingya are a Muslim minority. There are a very small number of Hindu Rohingya. However, it's almost, probably less than 1% of Hindus in the Rohingya ethnic group. Most of the Rohingya are Muslim. Most of the Kachin are Christian. But the Kachin minority in Burma is a much smaller minority than the Rohingya is. What's interesting is that while the Kachin were persecuted for many years, the persecution has now increased against them. But at Justice for All, as soon as we saw that increase, we tried to include the Kachin in our call of justice for the Rohingya and as well as for them. Because no matter who they are facing exactly the same tragedies, the same persecution from the Myanmar army as the Rohingya did for years altogether. By the way, a lot of people have asked, when did this start? And most of them are aware of what happened in 2012. But the persecution against the Rohingya has almost gone back some 30 years. In 1982, their citizenship was stripped from them, although the ancestry of the Rohingya can be traced back to the Arakan region for almost 700 to 800 years now. The Myanmar historians also, unfortunately, somehow seem to not see that part of history. Arakan was ruled as an independent country before. It only went to Burma when Burma became an independent country after British rule. That somehow is lost on the Myanmar authorities. At this time, I would like to call upon Nazda Alam. Nazda is a long-time activist in this region. She is part of the Massachusetts Democratic Party and has worked very, very hard in including a lot of the Muslim communities around here into the political process, whether they be Democrats or, heaven forbid, Republicans. Nazda has also done a documentary on the Rohingya situation, specifically on the women in the Rohingya refugee camps. And that's a wonderful documentary. I'd really recommend that if you have the time, take the link from her, watch that documentary. But I'm going to hand the mic to Nazda.
So we have Abdullah Dumba. Abdullah, tell me about the latest position of Rohingya. What's going on there?
So what's going on, first and foremost, let me take this opportunity to introduce myself and introduce the organization that I work for. My name is Abdullah Dumba and I work for Burma Task Force. Burma Task Force is a project of justice for all. So we are situated in Chicago, and our chairman is Imam Mujahid. He's a volunteer, he's the chairman volunteering to do this work. So when I started working on the issue of the Rohingya in 2014, and I'm now working as the regional coordinator for Burma Task Force in the New England area. So what's happening right now, we are monitoring and watching what's going on after August the 25th of last year, which is 2017. Something that took place with the Rohingya brothers and sisters was what we call today a genocide. You cannot imagine having 700,000 people pushed out of their land where they were born just within 1 month. All the 700,000 people are now refugees residing in Bangladesh. We are so much worried right now. What's going on in the camp right now, Imam Malik Mujahid has been visiting the camp thrice throughout this year, and we have a team of people who are interviewing the victims, people who have managed to cross from Myanmar to Bangladesh. And what we are worried about today is the situation in Cox Bazar. These people are in a place that is called a land that is likely to have the landslide, the mudslide. So we are worried about the situation at this point. If it happens, we are going to see many, many people, the Rohingya, dying. So our call today is that we all step up as humans. This is no longer something that is just concerning the Rohingya. It's no longer just concerning the Burmese only, and it's not only concerning the Bangladesh people who are holding them, who are giving them the custody today. It is a humanitarian issue. So we're inviting all people from all parts of the world to step up and be the voice for the Rohingya, stand with them, support them, and try to advocate for their citizenship, ask the government of Myanmar to change the policy in Myanmar and accept them as citizens of that country.
Oh, that's wonderful, wonderful. So, because so many Rohingyans migrate in other countries, are you doing for them something?
Many Rohingyas are migrating to many countries.
Many countries, yeah. But so many are not accepting them, and they are suffering financially, and
Well, this is something that we have to make an appeal to the entire world community. If a Rohingya comes to you, we have all known and we have seen what's happening on the Rohingya. We cannot accept the fact that they're going to die in that place called Cox Bazar. Bangladesh has done a great deal, a good work by hosting them and accepting them in this world. We are appealing to the international community as well. If the Rohingya come to you, to please accept them, because they are humans like us. We need them to be safe. We need them to get the education. We need them to enjoy the freedom and the liberty that every single person is enjoying today.
Wonderful. So, as you know, the world organizations who are working for human rights, except then your one, they are coming with you to help you?
Of course, today we are so happy to announce that so many organizations, humanitarian organizations, are stepping up to do some work. Some of them are providing some financial aid. Some of them are providing some health issues, some health work. Some of them are providing something to do with bringing back these people to their country with peace, dignity, and with citizenship. So humanitarian workers are also doing whatever is required of them. Doctors Without Borders are also doing the same. So we are glad that so many organizations, humanitarian and relief organizations, are stepping up to do what they're required to do.
That's wonderful. Would you like to tell us a few of them, a name of few of them?
We have, both Doctors Without Border. We have Doctors Without Border. We have the UN right now reporting some information about that. We have someone that was responsible, a person, a UN envoy that was responsible for Myanmar, who was kicked out of Myanmar. Actually, she's no longer going to Myanmar today, but she did a great job to advocate for the rest of the Rohingya. There are so many organizations that we shall be, if you Google the word, Google the word Rohingya, you'll see so many relief organizations and humanitarian organizations that are stepping up to do the job today.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So I'm hopeful and praying for the Rohingyas, and thank you so much for telling us these stories.
Thank you so much for taking the moment to stop by. Today, again, we are mobilizing all brothers and sisters, people from all sorts of the world, from all corners of the world. This is a humanitarian issue. We are inviting you to step up and remember and recognize the fact that what's happening on the Rohingya is genocide. We call it genocide. You cannot imagine pushing 700,000 people within just 1 month, and we have nothing that we say at this point. We are also calling the world to step up and ask for every perpetrator of what's happening today on the Rohingya to face justice, to face justice, we say Allah. That is with the power of Allah, the power of God.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you so much for stopping by as well.
Happening with the Rohingya and the Kachin minorities in Burma. Please join us. Show your voice, show your strength along with ours. Together we can solve it. Genocide should never be condoned. Genocide has to be stopped. We had said many, many years ago, never again after the genocide that happened in Germany, and we need to keep that promise.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for letting me speak. And it is a great place to raise your voice, any kind of injustice, inequality, and concern. So my name is Naz Alam. He just introduced me, Imam. But good introduction is I'm originally from Bangladesh, so it is close to my home. And I had opportunity to travel to Bangladesh, and I spent 2 weeks in the Rohingya Balutali camp in Cox Bazar in Bangladesh, and I did a documentary on Rohingya atrocity against women. I don't know, can you hear me now? Rohingya atrocity against women. I was part of the campaign last year when we had the first rally here in 2017. I worked with his brothers, and then I also very connected with Senator Warren's office and Senator Markey's office. And there was a Senate Foreign Relations hearing was last year, September of 2017. And I watched that, and one thing, it clicked my mind when Senator Jean Shaheen of New Hampshire, she particularly mentioned one thing, that gender-based atrocity, which is the women. And that made my mind, that whole issue is a huge issue. I am the person, I cannot resolve anything. But I wanted to pick one issue, the rape of the women and girls, and I can bring that to the world, because the media and the world was not really buoyant about the rape. They talked about a genocide, the refugee concentration, support, but the women issue, I thought that would be interesting. And then I spoke with the local media in Bangladesh. That started from January of 2018, and I went to the April, 4 months, back and forth, the script, the theme, collection is a lot. And the interesting thing was the time factor. It's 12 hours different and I'm a state employee. I work full time at the state of Massachusetts, and when I went to home from 10 p.m. to 3 o'clock a.m., I am either on the phone with them or online, so that was a part of background of mine. So what's my mind that I interviewed actually 6 women and girls who were really raped, being raped, and I had their interview, and I wanted to voice the issue that why women are the only victim for every single conflict. But the women are not the policymaker, they are not the front line fighter, but anywhere military goes, the first thing they do, they rape the women and girls. So that is unfair, and I have voiced that. War community, the military leaders, war planner, that they need to have focus on how military can act, behave with the women when they go to warfield.
One of the asks of Burma Task Force, one of the more acute asks, is for Secretary Pompeo to call it a genocide, because that's something that he has not been doing. And the other one is that there should be targeted sanctions excluding food and medicine on the Burmese, because Justice for All does not believe in sanctions that deny anybody the right to food and medicine. At this time, I'd like to call a dear friend of mine and a very great supporter in all of different humanitarian causes, Elsa Auerbach. Elsa Auerbach is on the steering committee of the Jewish Voice for Peace, and we are glad to have you here. Elsa?
Is this working? Okay, great. Jewish Voice for Peace is very honored to be here today. And of course we stand in solidarity with the Rohingya people. My parents were forced to leave Germany in 1939. They lost their jobs, they lost their livelihoods, they lost their homes, and like many Rohingya, they fled to another country. They thought that they were fleeing to a country where there would be justice and equality, where there would be space for a democratic system far into the future. Unfortunately, we stand here today. I don't think my parents would ever have imagined that we would be once again around the world facing the rise of a right-wing authoritarian and fascist movement. But I'm not standing here for my parents. I'm standing here for myself and for the many other people within the Jewish community who understand that the Rohingya stand at the intersection of every major crisis in the world today. The crisis of genocide, the crisis of ethnic cleansing, the crisis of sexual violence, the crisis of refugee seekers. All over the world, these things are being played out. And unfortunately, the struggles of the Rohingya people are not getting as much attention as some of the other struggles. You will be happy to know that today, in the British Guardian, of course the British are always way ahead of us, the main front page article is about the rape of the Rohingya women. Have you seen that article? It's the main article in today's Guardian, and it's also about the children who are the products of these rapes. So if you have a chance, it's a deep read. It's not a 2-minute or a 1-minute read. It's a deep read. The other thing that I want to talk about today is something that's also happening all over the world, and that is the attacks on the people. The Rohingya people are attacks that are justified under the only pretext of fighting terrorism.
Now, just to let you know about Burma Task Force, we are not a relief organization. A lot of people confuse us with that. We are mostly in advocacy. But we have been able to do things that a lot of people probably do not realize. The entire Tula Toli story that appeared in the BBC, it was first done by The Guardian again, and then went to the BBC. CNN did not carry it for almost a month. And then CNN carried a very big story on the Tula Toli story, on the Tula Toli massacre, and that story was released by Burma Task Force through Sound Vision, through the PR firm, and to all of the organization, all of the media organizations. So that's how things happen. Sometimes it's not in the forefront, but we've been working slightly, quietly behind the scenes.
Imam Yasir Fahmy to come speak. Do you want to invite Imam?
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I want to first thank our dear brothers and sisters at the Burma Task Force who have spent beautiful amounts of time in a prophetic service, and that service is speaking on behalf and bringing voice to those who do not have a voice. This is the work of the prophets, the work of the righteous predecessors of the likes of Jesus and Abraham, Moses and Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon them all. And so to have and to be in the presence of individuals who carry the prophetic mantle, this is an honor and a blessing that I am able to take part in such an action. And so I thank our dear brothers and sisters for taking the time out of their own lives and their personal lives to put themselves on the line to do the necessary work, the prophetic work, to bring voice and to speak on behalf of those who are persecuted, who are wronged in this world. One of the famous organizations that works on questions around humanitarian issues is Amnesty International. Amnesty International says that the Rohingya are the least cared about people in the world. The least cared about people in the world are the Rohingya. They have been persecuted. There has been an active genocide against them. They have been raped, pillaged. They have been disenfranchised. They have been made to flee from their homes. And they have been in this destitute state for many, many, many years. And what is remarkable, as our dear sister Elsa noted, is that in 2018, this falls profoundly on deaf ears. We are sitting here in this land of that many of us call home, that many of us were born and raised in. We are here in Boston Common, one of the most essential parts of our American history in terms of the American revolutionary realities, and there are graves right over there that house many of those who fought for freedom, who fought for dignity, who fought for honor, and the history is, as you know, convoluted in and of itself. But regardless, it cannot be that in 2018 people are being raped. 50,000 children, where's the sister who mentioned that statistic? 50,000 children will be born out of rape in 2018. That is beyond egregious. That is something that should make every conscious being's heart bleed. To find that women are being pillaged and raped, that young men and women and elderly and so on are being forced to flee their lands, and people are just completely oblivious to this fact, not even knowing the names of these countries or these lands or these people. We have become increasingly individualistic, self-centered human beings who live for ourselves, who live for our own personal interests, who live for our own personal comforts. And even as we consciously know that people are going through these atrocities, we're able to walk around, eat, drink, sleep, and just act as if nothing is happening. And perhaps many of us, we've had empathy burnout. Many of us, we've become apathetic because our empathy is just burnt out. We can't do this anymore. But I think that the reason why many of us have empathy burnout, and I think the reason why we have such few number of people here, and I'm going to get to that numbers issue, although Imam Abdullah said many beautiful things about it, but I'll get to that in the end. But I think the reason why this happens is very often we lose sight of the fact that we are actually not in control. You and I as individuals, we're not in control. We can only control one thing, really, and that is the actions that we take. What happens existentially, what happens in the world, that is God's decree. Only He, Allah. We believe this as Muslims, and I'm certain that Christians and Jews believe this as well. Only He can decree the reality that will play out in this world. Our responsibility is to voice, to advocate, to follow these very useful guidelines that you have in these papers. Pick them up. There are practical steps that you must take every single day. Sign up for the newsletter. Follow the simple steps. Donate $1, $10. Advocate with your representatives. Do that, not because you are the one who's going to change. No. Do that because God is watching. And He's going to see whether or not you took the requisite steps for change. Because if He wants, He has the power of be and it will. Allah has that power. And if He wants, He can change this momentarily. But in His divine wisdom, He allows for these realities to play out in the world to see who we are. Those of us who have been given the opportunity to live in lands of luxury, of comfort, of relief, of safety, to gather together, to speak openly, to advocate with our officials, to move, to build resources, to build coalitions. This type of freedom to move and to advocate and to do, if it is not taken advantage of, then certainly Allah knows, God knows, what we have done or not done. And that's really what it all boils down to. We hope and pray that God uses us as agents of change, because that's what the prophets were. There were prophets who had profound impact, right, on human beings as they lived, large scale. And there are others like Noah who had but a mere dozen of followers, or dozens, at the highest estimate being 83, the lowest estimate being 7. 7 to 83 followers in 1,000 years of trying to advocate and speak and bear witness and tell people about what justice and what mercy and what divinity, and speak to these truths and these realities. So we may be in the boat of Noah. We may be in his ship, where we're simply 20 people, 40? Let's give it 40. 40 people, Elsa says. We're 40 people. And we'll say it, no, we'll say it loud. Say it loud and beautifully. 40 people, 20 people. I don't care if it was one person. I don't care if it was Imam Abdullah by himself, Elsa by herself. But if you're standing here and you're bearing witness, then know that you are doing the works of the prophets. And you should stand with your head high, with dignity, with honor, knowing that God sees what you are doing. And He has made it clear to us clearly in our scripture, وَكَمْ مِنْ فِئَةٍ قَلِيلَةٍ غَلَبَتْ فِئَةً كَثِيرَةً بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. And how often has it been the case that a few people were able to circumvent and take on the Goliaths of the world. And there are plenty of Goliaths in this world that we live in today. There's not just one Goliath. There are many Goliaths that have to be addressed and dealt with and stood up against. And so today we stand up against the Goliath that is playing out against our dear brothers and sisters, the Rohingya, who have been forgotten and who will continue to be forgotten by the majority of the population of this world. But at the very least, what we do is we show Allah that we have not forgotten, that we will continue to advocate, that we will continue to speak, and we will follow the path of Noah, where we do it every single moment of our lives until the day we die, regardless of how far we move the pendulum, because we don't move the pendulum, Allah does. And we have to realize that, because what can happen is you can do this work for 5, 10, 20 years, and then you say, you know what, I'm just going to go retire because I did my part, but nothing really changed. Then you haven't figured out that this is not about you, and this is not about me. You know, this is not about what may happen to me. No, this is about God having given me a voice, having given me resources, has given me health, has given me time, and so I will do with it what is most pleasing to Him. And I believe that if we internalize this, then we will have far more agents of change and mercy and justice on this earth, who strive truly to uplift and to uphold the prophetic ethos that has beautified this earth from the time of Adam until Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of God be upon them all. And so I hope and pray that we realize that this number is a beautiful number. And this number is one that you should feel honored and blessed to be a part of. Because on the Day of Judgment, and I know I'm bringing a lot of theology into this, so forgive me for those of you who may not be too excited about too much theological talk, but I'm dressed this way and I'm a sheikh, so I'm going to talk about theology. Because this is what motivates me, and I'm sure others are motivated by other things, and I want to hear what they have to say. But I believe that when we internalize these truths and we live by them and we continue to strive in this fashion, then on the Day of Judgment we will be together as a critical mass of individuals who we can say, in 2018, we spoke truth. We bear witness, and we tried to strive for our brothers and sisters who no one cared about. I mean, I was thinking to myself that in the Islamic tradition, there is a particular type of reward that is given to those who stand in the moments of the dark night in prayer, when it is known that everyone is sleeping. At 4 a.m., if you're standing in prayer, everyone is sleeping, but God sees that you are amongst the few, the qaleel, the few who are standing in prayer. And so God gives a special reward to those people because He sees that you stood in a moment when everyone else was sleeping. Today, we come together and we stand and we bear witness, knowing full well that everyone else is sleeping. We don't judge those people as being evil. We don't judge those people as being bad. People are not aware. People are not informed, as Imam Abdullah was saying. Sorry, he's right here. Go to my right, to my left real quick, mashallah. He's like the angels. He's like the angels over my shoulders. So he said, he made it clear. He didn't know the name Burma. He didn't know the country. He didn't know this language. Many people, you walk around right now in Boston Common and say, who are the Rohingya? They're most likely going to say, it sounds like a nice cuisine, as he noted. But we know who the Rohingya are. We know their stories. We've seen the victims. We know the rape victims right here. Their faces, as this dear sister has advocated for. She's shown us who they are. And she's shown us the statistics of the thousands and thousands of children who will be born out of rape. We know this. And God does not act haphazardly. Now that you know, you have responsibility. You cannot know this and go back to sleep. That's unacceptable. And so if it's one person, 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, once you know that this is what is happening, and you have international entities and organizations and governments speaking to this, and then you go back to sleep, that's where the real problem lies. So I hope and pray that we stay awake, and that we stay standing, and we don't go to sleep while others are sleeping. And regardless of how many people don't care, we continue to care. And what we die in a state of care. And we care not about just one people, we care about 1 million people. And we care about 1 billion people. And we care about every single dignified soul that exists on this earth, because God commands us to honor the human being, regardless of who they are, where they are, what they come from. We dignify the human being and we honor them. And if one human being is wronged, then that, for God, is more profound and powerful than to see His sacred sites destroyed. The Kaaba that millions of people just went to make the sacred pilgrimage this past week. In God's sight, it is more profound and powerful to see the loss of one innocent human being's life than to see the Kaaba destroyed. That's what our Prophet Muhammad teaches us. That tells you something about what we should care about with regards to the dignity of the human being. May Allah help us to stay awake. May Allah help us to stay proactive. May Allah help us to stay engaged. May Allah make us servants in this earth. May Allah help us to serve His creation. May Allah help us to fulfill all of the practical steps that we can to make the requisite change that God has put in our hands to make on this earth. Ya Allah, you are the one who controls the affairs of this world. We do not ever stand in your place. You control, we don't control, but we know that you will hold us accountable for our actions. So help us to do what is in the best interest of this creation. Ya Allah, Ya Kareem, may Allah bless you all. May Allah accept from you. May Allah increase you. May Allah guide you. May Allah be pleased with us on this day. Allahumma ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
Forward, and I will go back to working for Sound Vision. He is committed, we are committed, we want commitment from you. The most recent thing that's been done is a case has been filed against Myanmar at the International Criminal Court. Unfortunately, Myanmar is not a signatory, but the Bangladeshis have pushed it forward. Myanmar has so far ignored all requests from the court for information about this issue. This is an open mic. Anybody is welcome to come say a few things, but at this time I know Sister Latifa would like to say a few things. Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum, and greetings to everyone here. Peace be unto you. Very honored to be able to say a few words about this issue. You know, as a Muslim woman, one of the key things that I sometimes think about in the Quran is it talks about reverencing the womb that bore you. And, you know, this whole issue is centered around women who have been raped. And certainly that's the clear opposite of reverence. And so I feel like it's incumbent upon all to have this universal appeal that when you rape women, it's like another death. It's like a death while you're alive. It's a death that can't really be talked about. It's something that people take less than murder, but it's kind of like a murder. And then to have other women be tortured and other men be tortured by listening to gang rape of women. To have, I was reading a young woman who was 11-year-old, women as young as 11 years old, have their innocence be taken away from them. To have children try to defend their mothers as the final line of defense and get killed as a result of that. It really speaks to the core of your soul, because where else do you hear such horrific things? So when I listened to this cause, and the brother told me about this last week to come, it was something that was near and dear to me, because it's universal. It's not really just about what happened in Rohingya. It's to the people there. It's also what's happening all over the globe with these kinds of issues about disregarding the womb that bore you. So I'm really touched to be here and prayerful that this is going to be the past, and that we're going to get the right kind of legislation in place to temper this in a way that it never happens again. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
My name is Rohangya and I'm from Bangladesh, basically. So I was a graduate student here, and my thesis for okay. So my MA thesis was on actually Rohingya problem. My topic or the title of my capstone was the durable solution for the Rohingya crisis, and I worked a bit on that in the summer. So from my research, what I understood actually, like I will talk about my experience as a student actually perspective. So there are like two kind of resolution what we can see from there. Like there should be a policy level approach, and this problem has never actually got the attention that it should have from the Western side. So like Myanmar, what they are doing, and Bangladesh as a host country for this group or this big Rohingya refugee population, what they are doing, from the Bangladesh perspective, this should be the humanitarian response, because as many of you mentioned, that Bangladesh is a small country with overpopulation. So their limitations, they have some limitations. So there should be like two kind of things. So I should emphasize on the policy level approach actually. So this is the right place, I think, like to actually emphasize on the policy level. talk to approach to the people who can influence to get a resolution on this issue. That's so far what I understood actually. So thank you so much.
I want to ask you one question, and please, if I ask you that question, please say justice. I'm going to ask you a question. I don't know what that question is going to be. Probably you don't know, but if I ask you that question, please say justice. And the other thing that I'm going to ask for is for stop genocide. If I ask another question, I will say your answer will be stop genocide. What are we here for? What are we here for? What are we here for? What do we demand for the Rohingya? Stop genocide. What do we demand for the Rohingya?
Stop genocide.
What do we demand for the Rohingya?
Stop genocide.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much again. I'm humbled to have the opportunity to invite our Imam Shaykh Yasir Fahmy to come speak to us. But before he does that, again, Brother Zahir has introduced me as the regional coordinator for Burma Task Force. And Justice for All. Thank you so much for the reminder. He's always reminding me, mashallah. So I started working with Burma Task Force way back in 2014. And it was through the invitation of my dear brother, my mentor, Zahir Adil, whom we had just met because he's a friend and a brother to Mazahar Quraish. Mazahar Quraish has been always my mentor and a teacher. Every time he saw me coming out of the pulpit, he would say, Abdullah, come here, let me teach you a lesson. Today you did not say the right words. I want you to improve in this area. And I take all of that from him, mashallah. And when he saw me a couple of times, he invited Brother Adil to come and see me. And so Brother Adil said, let me invite you to come and speak for the Rohingya.